Can you name a UFC fighter who went from a 12-fight win streak to an 8-fight losing streak? If Tony Ferguson came to mind, you're right. But do you know the full story behind this rise and fall? It all started back in 2011 when Ferguson won the Ultimate Fighter 13. That victory got him a UFC contract and kicked off what seemed like an unstoppable career. Ferguson wasn't your average fighter. His style was wild, unpredictable, and tough as nails. This guy just wouldn't quit. For years, Ferguson tore through the lightweight division. He beat some of the best: Edson Barboza, Rafael dos Anjos, Kevin Lee. You name him, Ferguson took him down. His win streak hit an incredible 12 fights. It seemed like nothing could stop him. But wait until you see what happened next. Ferguson was about to reach the peak of his career. The UFC championship was within reach. But would he grab it, or would everything come crashing down?
And the one thing is I will eat you up for lunch, but that's not the case because you don't meet my standards on this. You have to put in your time, kid.
You're not going to believe what happened next. Tony Ferguson's moment had finally arrived. After years of grinding, after 12 straight wins, he was about to grab that UFC gold. It's UFC 216, October 7th, 2017. The lights are blinding. The crowd's roaring. Ferguson's walking out to face Kevin Lee for the interim lightweight title. This was his shot, his time to prove he belonged at the top, and boy, did he deliver. Ferguson versus Lee was a war, both guys throwing everything they had. But Ferguson, he was on another level. His cardio was insane, his strikes were crisp, and his ground game, deadly. In the third round, Ferguson saw his opening. He locked in that triangle choke, and Lee had nowhere to go. Tap, 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 it was over. Tony Ferguson, the new interim UFC lightweight champion. Can you imagine what was going through his head? All those years of work, all those doubters. He proved wrong. Ferguson had done it. He was a champion. This wasn't just any win. This was Ferguson announcing to the world, "I'm the best lightweight on the planet." He'd beaten some of the toughest guys in the division, and now he had the belt to prove it. But it wasn't just about the gold. Ferguson's style was something special. The way he moved, the crazy strikes he'd throw out of nowhere. Fans couldn't get enough of it. He wasn't just winning fights, he was putting on shows. Every time Ferguson stepped into that octagon, you knew you were in for something wild. Spinning elbows, Imanari rolls, salsa dancing between punches. The guy was unpredictable, and that's what made him so dangerous. And let's talk about that mindset. Ferguson wasn't just tough, he was obsessed. His training videos went viral. He'd be kicking metal poles, doing flips on concrete, rolling around with weights. People thought he was crazy, but that craziness made him unstoppable. The MMA world was buzzing. Everyone wanted to see what Tony Ferguson would do next.
I'm gonna dedicate this fucking song called Mask Off. Chase a check, never chase a bitch. That's Khabib.
He had the interim title, but you know what that meant. A shot at the undisputed championship was coming. All eyes were on a potential matchup with the undefeated Khabib. Fans had been dreaming of this fight for years. Two of the best lightweights ever, with completely different styles. It was the fight to make. Ferguson was on top of the world. He'd overcome every obstacle, beaten every opponent. The undisputed title seemed like destiny. Nothing could stop him now, right? But here's where things get intense. Ferguson had fought his way to the top, but staying there, that's a whole different game. The pressure was on. Everyone was gunning for him now. You gotta wonder, how does a fighter handle that? Going from the hunter to the hunted? Ferguson had always thrived as the underdog, but now he was the guy to beat. And let's not forget, in the fight game, things can change in the blink of an eye. One punch, one wrong move, and it can all come crashing down. Just when Tony Ferguson thought he was on top of the world, everything changed in an instant. April 2018. Ferguson's getting ready for the biggest fight of his life against Khabib. He's doing media obligations, probably thinking about the belt, the glory, all of it. And then bam! He trips over a cable. A freaking cable. Can you believe it? This wasn't just any freak injury. Ferguson tore his lateral collateral ligament. For you non-medical folks out there, that's bad. Real bad. And just like that, the fight with Khabib was off. Again. For the 5th time. It's like the MMA gods were playing some cruel joke on Ferguson and the fans. But here's the thing. This wasn't just another canceled fight. This was the moment everything started to unravel for Tony Ferguson. That injury? It didn't just cost him a fight. It cost him his momentum, his mojo, everything he'd built over those 12 wins. Fast forward to May 2020. Ferguson's back, facing Justin Gaethje at UFC 249. Everyone's thinking, okay, El Cucuy is going to show us he's still got it. But man, it was hard to watch. Gaethje picked Ferguson apart for 5 rounds. Ferguson's face, a mess. His win streak, gone. Just like that, 8 years of dominance wiped out. You'd think maybe that was a one-off, right? Nope. December 2020, Ferguson steps in against Charles Oliveira. Same story, different fighter. Oliveira dominates him on the ground. Ferguson, the guy known for his crazy ground game, getting schooled. It was like watching a completely different fighter. But wait, it gets worse. Michael Chandler at UFC 274, knocked out, cold. Second time in Ferguson's career he'd been put out like that. Bobby Green, same deal. Finish after finish after finish, 6 losses in a row. 4 of them, he didn't even make it to the final bell. Now, you're probably thinking, someone's got to step in, right? And you're not wrong. Dana White, the big boss of the UFC, he starts talking about Ferguson retiring. Other fighters are chiming in too. Everyone's worried. They're seeing a legend of the sport taking unnecessary damage. But Ferguson, he's not having any of it. You know what he says? F those who think I should retire. That's Tony Ferguson for you. The same crazy determination that got him to the top, it's keeping him from stepping away. Now, let's talk about something serious. You ever heard of CTE? It stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Sounds complicated, right? Well, it's a big deal in all sports, especially for fighters like Tony Ferguson. CTE is what happens when your brain takes too many hits. It's like your brain gets bruised over and over again. And for MMA fighters, it's a real risk. Think about it. These guys are getting punched in the head for a living. Here's a scary stat for you. About 25 to 33% of MMA fighters might end up with brain injuries. And get this, 71% of injuries in MMA are linked to brain trauma. That's not just a few fighters. That's a lot of people putting their brains on the line every time they step into the octagon. Now, let's bring it back to Tony Ferguson. Remember all those wars he's been in? All those punches he's taken? It adds up, and people are starting to notice. Josh Thompson, a former fighter, said something that'll make you think.
But man, it just sucks. And Tony's in that position. He's got to fight people that are good. And I don't think he wants to fight anybody that's not good. But he's going to have to figure this out, you know.
Well, I can
that whole thing, that whole rundown, Josh, is what?
It's 10 years off his life.
Well,
it's
one of those, I don't know what to do.
Well, here's the thing though, John, is the Justin Gaethje fight and the Charles Oliveira fight, those 2 fights alone, I speak from experience because it happened to me with him. At that age, the damage he took in that Gaethje fight, it changes you.
Yeah.
Then there was a time where Ferguson's wife filed a restraining order against him. Why? She said he was acting paranoid and irrational. Now, we don't know for sure if this is related to brain trauma, but it's definitely concerning. The full story will blow your mind. Ferguson's wife said he once told the family a great flood was coming. He made them get rafts from Walmart. Can you imagine? This is a guy who was on top of the world not long ago. It gets crazier. Ferguson's wife said he thought their son was Jesus Christ. He was scared of the fireplace, thinking it was a hidden camera. This isn't just eccentric behavior. This is serious stuff. Now, you might be thinking, someone's got to do something, right? Well, it's not that simple. MMA is a tough sport with a tough culture. Fighters are supposed to be, well, fighters. Tough, unbreakable, but that mindset can be dangerous. The MMA community needs to take a hard look at itself. We need better mental health support for these athletes. We need to think about retirement planning, because let's face it, you can't fight forever. But here's the kicker. After all this, after all the losses and the concerns, you know what Ferguson says? He feels fresh and has plenty of fights left. It's like he's in a whole different world from everyone else. So what do? How do we protect fighters like Ferguson from themselves? How do we balance the excitement of the sport with the health of the athletes? Either way, Tony is a future Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever do it.